So the enzymes which are responsible for digesting the dietary proteins are known as proteases. And proteases actually fall into two classes, like that of amylases. We have seen that amylases belong to two different types, endoamylases and exoamylases. So similarly, in the case of proteases also, there are two types of proteases, endopeptidases and exopeptidases. Proteases are also known as peptidases. That is those which are responsible for cleaving the peptide linkage. We know that amino acids are linked together by means of peptide bond, which is a covalent bond, which is one of the most strongest bonds. Right, CONS bond is a very strong bond, so it's not that easy for breaking such a bond, and this is brought about by, or this is made possible with the help of a class of enzyme known as proteases or peptidases. Okay, so there are two different types of peptidases, endopeptidases and exopeptidases. So as the name indicates, endopeptidases are those peptidases, or endoproteases are those proteases which can cleave the peptide linkage deep within the protein molecules, while the exopeptidases can break the peptide bond only at the carboxy terminal end or the amino terminal end, removing individual single amino acid at a time. So in the case of exoamylases, we have studied that they can cleave only the glycosidic bond so that one glucose unit will be released at a time, right? So similarly, in the case of proteases also, there are two classes of proteases, endopeptidases and exopeptidases. Endopeptidases can act deep within the protein molecule and break down the bigger or bulky protein molecule into small peptides, while the exopeptidases cleaves the terminal peptide linkages, or the peptide linkages which are exposed out, right? So that single amino acids are released at a time, right? So again, which is the site of digestion? Where does the digestion of proteins start? And as we know that proteins are heavy molecules, or they are made up of peptide bonds. It's not that easy to break up the peptide bond. So as a result of this, because of the same reason, the protein digestion is not at all carried in the stomach, in the oral cavity. It's not at all carried out in the oral cavity, because oral cavity is very sensitive, so proteases cannot be exposed out, and hence the mouth is not the site for the digestion of proteins. The digestion of proteins is initiated only in the stomach, in the gastric cavity, right? There we have got gastric juices, and within the gastric juice, one of the main contents of the gastric juice is the concentrated HCl, right? So only under the acidic pH the protein digestion is initiated. So these are the various sites where the digestion, or the food is entering in through the oral cavity, where the carbohydrate digestion is initiated. The lipid digestion, maybe the milk proteins will be initiation of digestion will be started, but in the case of proteins, they will be remaining intact. There is no disturbance for the protein molecules. They will be directly entering the stomach, and in the stomach, with the help of the gastric juice which contains the HCl, or under strong acidic pH or acidic environment, the digestion of proteins will be initiated, right? So there again, the gastric juice or the stomach contains the proteolytic enzymes known as pepsin and renin. It's not renin. Renin angiotensin is secreted from the kidneys. It is not a enzyme also, it's a hormone. Renin is a hormone, while renin is a proteolytic enzyme, RENNIN. Again, renin is present in the babies only, not in the adults. Adult stomach do not contain renin. Renin is present only in children, while in the adults, the protein digestion is carried out by a strong proteolytic enzyme known as pepsinogen or pepsinogen. It is only, we know that proteases are very strong enzymes, so they may not be simply getting exposed out, or they cannot be simply get released out of the concerned target or concerned organ. Stomach cannot directly synthesize pepsin. So always the proteolytic enzymes or proteases or peptidases are always released in an inactive form known as zymogens. You might have come across this term, that is zymogen. Zymogen in the enzymology portion, you might have come across this portion, this terminology, that is zymogens. Zymogens are the inactive form of the proteolytic enzymes. So pepsin is not secreted as such. It is synthesized in the inactive form known as pepsinogen. So this pepsinogen has to be first converted into the active form, pepsin. right? Then only it can bring about the breakdown of the peptide linkages. Again, not all amino acids cannot be broken up by pepsin. There are certain specific sites where the enzymes can come and act. The active site of the enzyme depends, and based on the type of the active site, they are divided into different types known as serine proteases, metalloproteases, right? Aspartic proteases, etc. There are different types of proteases, and the most common ones are the serine proteases. Okay, so they will be having serine in those enzymes will be having serine, the amino acid serine in their active site. We know that the enzymes are also proteins, right? So the active site is again made up of certain specific amino acids. So if the active site is having serine as the amino acid residue, then we call it as serine proteases. If they are having aspartic acid on their active site, then we call it as aspartate proteases, right? And if the active site of the proteolytic enzyme is having, it should have a metal, then we call it as metalloproteases. A typical example for a metalloprotease is carboxypeptidases. Carboxypeptidase can act only when zinc is attached to them. It's a metalloenzyme. So zinc is already always present on the mineral zinc. Zinc will be always present on the active site of carboxypeptidase. So it's a metalloenzyme. It's a metalloprotease, and the metal present in carboxypeptidase is zinc. Okay. So the digestion is initiated in the stomach, where the enzyme will be first released in the zymogen form known as pepsinogen, after which the pepsinogen will be converted into its active form pepsin. And this conversion of pepsinogen to pepsin happens only in presence of the HCl, the concentrated HCl, because the concentrated HCl always maintain the pH below 2, in between 1.6 and 3.2. So that is the optimum pH for the pepsin to act. So always the HCl always maintains the pH of the stomach in between 1.6 and 3.2. So the optimum pH of pepsin is 2. So since 2 lies in between 1.6 and 3.2, this pH range is always maintained by concentrated HCl. Okay, so that is the initial site of digestion of proteins, that is the stomach. So we shall start, and after which the partially digested enzymes, the proteins will be taken into the intestine, and on entering into the intestine, what again the pancreatic enzymes will be released under the under the order of what hormone known as cholecystokinin, pancreazyme, etc. So the hormones acts on the pancreas, so that the pancreatic duct releases pancreatic enzymes, proteolytic enzyme, which are the chymotrypsin, the trypsin, the chymotrypsin, elastase, etc. All of them again are synthesized in the zymogen form, which will be further converted to their active form, so that the peptides, the partially digested peptides, are again further digested into smaller molecules. Again, the digestion will be continued in the intestine by means of intestinal juice. Intestinal juice contains simpler enzymes, but again, they are also very potent, like dipeptidases. Then there is a exopeptidases, right, etc. So, and within the intestine, under the action of the intestinal juice, the protein digestion will be completed. So these are the various areas where the proteins digestion happens. So starts in the stomach, will be continued in the intestine by means of the pancreatic enzymes, and further the complete digestion will be carried out in the intestinal lumen by means of intestinal juice, after which they will be taken for absorption. So only when the proteins are finally broken up completely into individual amino acids, then only the digestion happens. Okay, so this is a site showing a schematic representation of the digestion. So in the mouth, the chewing starts, chewing of the food. Chew means നമ്മൾ ചവയ്ക്കും. So the larger bulk of the food will be masticated. Mechanical breakdown happens, so that the enzymes can directly, it will be made much more simple. They can get increased access towards the food. And but if the protein digestion will not be initiated in the stomach, the chemical digestion of protein happens or begins in the presence of hydrochloric acid, and with the help of the enzyme pepsin. And what happens in the small intestine? The polypeptides are broken down into amino acids with the help of dipeptides, tripeptides. The digesting enzymes are created from the pancreas and all. and variety of different transport proteins move the products from the protein digestion to the mucosal cell, where they share the same transport system. That is, this from this stage onwards, the absorption will be initiated. So in the intestinal lumen, what happens? The digestion will be completed and will be taken into the enterocytes, and from the enterocytes they will be taken for the absorption. Right, and what happens, the dipeptides and tripeptides can enter the mucosal cells, and once they once they are inside the mucosal cell, what happens, they will be broken up into single amino acids, individual amino acids. Only the individual amino acids will be taken for absorption. The amino acids pass from the mucosal cells into the into the blood. They will be entering into, so this is the intestinal lumen. So with the help of various transport proteins, this individual amino acids will be found within the intestinal lumen on the enterocytes, like dipeptidases, etc. So individual amino acids, all the protein molecules are finally broken up into simplest molecule, like that of our carbohydrates. So carbohydrate contains diet contains mainly the starch, right? So the starch is a polymer of glucose. They will be, digestion is initiated in the oral cavity and it's continued in the intestine, not in the stomach, right? Only the sucrose will be cleaved in the stomach. All the other remaining carbohydrate molecules will be directly entering into the, or they will be, of course, they will be traveling through the stomach, but in the stomach, no digestion is happening. Further, it is carried out by pancreatic enzyme and the intestinal enzymes. And finally, all the starch molecules will be broken up into their simplest form, that is of glucose, fructose, and galactose. Similarly, in the case of proteins also, only the initiation site is different. In the case of carbohydrates, the starting point is the oral cavity. The stomach do not have any action except for sucrose. But in case of proteins, the oral cavity is not having any function because there is no proteolytic enzymes in the buccal cavity or the oral cavity. The digestion is initiated in the stomach and just continuing in the form of with the help of the various proteolytic enzymes. It will be continued with the help of pancreatic juice and further in the intestinal lumen, etc. And within the enterocytes, what is happening? All the protein molecules will be converted into their simplest form, that is the individual amino acids. Only the individual amino acids will be taken into the blood, right? And very few quantities of amino acids will be, or dietary proteins will be lost in the feces, very small amounts. So this is how the digestion is initiated. So this is another schematic representation. The region, proteins, oral cavity, there is no action. Esophagus, no action. Stomach, the polypeptides, the proteins will be acted upon by pepsin in presence of HCl. So that pepsinogen is converted into pepsin. Again, there is another function for HCl because HCl is an acid. Acid it can denature the protein also. So dietary proteins can be subjected for denaturation. So it enables the pepsin to act in a more enhanced manner. Okay. So it will be converted into polypeptides. Then they enter into small intestine where the pancreatic enzymes come. The pancreatic enzymes are trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidase. What's the peculiarity of carboxypeptidase? It's a metalloenzyme. It is having zinc on its active site and will be converted to short peptides and amino acids. And further, the short peptides, there will be small peptides like dipeptides or tripeptides, like of disaccharides and trisaccharides. So what is happening in the intestinal mucosa? The intestinal juice contains smallest, again, these small peptides will be broken up with the help of dipeptidases and tripeptidases, thereby enabling the conversion of the small peptides into individual amino acids. And these individual amino acids will be subject for facilitated diffusion and co-transport so that they are entering into the bloodstream. Now, how is the transportation happening? That will be taken in the absorption portion. Okay. So how do the proteins from food denatured or not? You can, for example, you are having food, egg. So you cannot have a raw egg, right? So either it will be steamed one or it will be having, which are the other forms of dietary forms of egg, like omelette, the bullseye and all. Right, so what happens during the omelette preparation? The egg proteins are undergoing denaturation, right? So this denatured proton, what is happening to the egg? The egg is a very good source of, egg is a complete food. It's having all the essential amino acids in it. Okay, so you might have studied in the first year. Egg is a complete protein. So eggs protein will be taken into the oral cavity. One egg, raw boiled half boiled scrambled all of them will be having around 6 grams of protein. A single egg is having around 6 grams of protein. So from the mouth, in mouth there is no action, and from the mouth it will be taken to stomach, where it will be acted upon by pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is again under the influence of HCl, it is converted into pepsin.